Wherever you go in Scotland, there is always something amazing to discover. And just across the road from the accommodation that I'm staying at is this beautiful ravine that is carving its way back and into the landscape. And here you have this fantastic river with a closed canopy overhead that is really locking in and retaining the moisture. So that moisture, coupled with the high rainfall and the clean air and this long ecological continuity of this woodland, has resulted in a luxuriant development of lichens. Now, I must apologise in advance for the quality of this audio because I'm filming it right by the water. But there's no way of getting around this, because the reason this site is so incredibly rich is because of the river. This wooded ravine is a really excellent example of one of Scotland's temperate rainforests. And we know this because of the huge amounts of rain that the west side of the country receives. But the main reason is because of the suite of lichen indicators that I have just found here. What really excites me about Scotland's landscape is the hazel. The hazel is of huge conservation importance for lots of rare and scarce species that are of high conservation interest. And the hazel within this ravine is absolutely loaded with lots of little lichen treasures that I'm really keen to show you. The Atlantic hazel that we find here in Scotland is of huge conservation importance on an international scale. The reason for this is that the hazel here, and also hazel found in other hyperoceanic areas of Britain and Ireland, support a suite of species for which we have an international responsibility. And what I mean by this is that Britain and Ireland are a global stronghold for the species that are found here. I am absolutely delighted to have found a species which I've only ever seen twice before. And this lichen is a hyperoceanic hazelwood specialist called Phelatrema petractoides, also known as the barnacle lichen. On this smooth bark of this hazel stem here, it's growing in great abundance and it's forming mosaics with other hyperoceanic hazelwood specialists as well. Two other species of lichen that this Phelatrema is growing alongside, forming this distinct community which we call the Graphidian, is two of the pox lichens. And these are Pyrengula levigata and Pyrengula occidentalis. And these are known as the pox lichens because they have these wonderful black fruiting bodies which we call the perithecia, and this is where the spores are housed. Within a habitat like this, the rocks are equally as important as the trees, and that's demonstrated by this lower rock face here, where it is absolutely covered in a cyanolichen which we call Varliella leucophea. And again, only second time I've ever seen this species, so this ravine is doing really well. But it's a series of overlapping little leaflets or squamules that are grey to brown in colour, and then all across the surface it has these beautiful reddy brown fruiting bodies, which again is where the spores are kept for this lichen. This lichen is actually reading the textbooks and is occupying a base-rich rock face within very sheltered situations by the coastline, which is just on the other side of that bridge. Now, you will probably notice that I haven't given the macro libarian much attention within this video. And the reason for that is there have been so many other wonderful species to look at and to show you. However, it would be completely criminal of me not to give them a shout out. So here they are, growing in luxuriance, overgrowing the mosses. And these species are really characteristic of Scotland's rainforest. Honestly, Scotland continues to amaze me, and wherever you look across this landscape, there is always something interesting to find. But with the lichens, you do have to slow yourself down in space and slow yourself down in time, because when you look that little bit deeper into the natural world, it's absolutely amazing some of the species that you can find.